For my final creative project, I decided to make a costume inspired by the Russian Imperial Ballet's 1892 production of the Nutcracker, specifically the dresses worn in the Waltz of the Snowflakes. And here you can see a sketch. The last photo was the original dancers. And although most productions now have kind of forgotten about the pom-pom method, this production from 2013 in Berlin used them, and a lot of their outfits were based on the original, so it was kind of fun, and I decided to take inspiration from both. So you can see here the pattern. If you look at the real person, that's A, and that's what I used for the skirt, and E is what I used for the bodice. The main difference between how their pattern turned out and how mine turned out is the amount of poofiness. I put a petticoat under mine because I wanted it to be more poofy. Here you can see the instructions, and I actually opted for a mannequin because I wanted this piece to be like a museum piece instead of like a dancing piece. So I just kind of put it on a mannequin, but I did make it to my size. Here you can see the cut pattern. You're looking at the bodice and the waistbands, and then those long rectangular pieces were what became the skirt. Here's everything pinned on after it's ironed. This is the under layer of the bodice, is what you just saw. I had to buy a lot of pom-poms for this project. I bought 4 sizes, but I actually only ended up using the smallest 3 because the biggest ones were just kind of too big. And there was a lot of different things I bought to test, and that's what that clip was. Here's me sewing. There's not too much sewing because it was just me following the pattern, and it's hard to record yourself sewing. And so here's what's going to become the waistband and the skirt. So there's a lot of tulle in this skirt. It's very poofy and big. There were 8 sections and 2 layers. This is, of course, the first layer that has been sewn on the waistband before I added the second layer, which you'll see in a second. When I talk about how much tulle is in this is not even everything, and the tulle is actually folded over here, so it'd be about twice as wide. So one of the most unique pieces about this project was figuring out exactly what I wanted to do with the snowballs. The snowballs are all over the costume, and what I found was the best method was using fishing line, a needle, and the pom-poms. So my technique was threading the fishing line through the needle, and then just kind of taking the needle and going through the pom-poms. As you can see here, I used about 5 for the skirt pieces, but I also used this technique numerous times throughout the entire dress. It's used a lot on the shoulder piece as well, and you'll see the shoulder piece in the end, but it's basically a necklace that also kind of goes off your shoulders because I didn't want to have to connect them to the bodice, and I also wanted there to be pom-poms on the shoulders where there was no fabric. So it was a really nice technique, and it allowed for not too much movement, but also enough movement that I could move the pom-poms around and make them even. So here is me making the headband. There was a lot of aspects to the headband. So those wires you see are just floral wire. I use 3 pom-poms that are the smallest ones, 1 medium, and then I just stick the biggest one on the top. You can see here I already have 1 in, but I actually take it out for the next clip. I ended up using, I believe, 9 different floral wires, which is actually less than the dancers do in the Berlin one, because mine are more spaced out. And just kind of, it's bigger overall than the dancers' headpieces, but I like how it turned out. And here's all of the wire, just so I could have the pom-poms evenly spaced. And then here's the final headband put together. And it's actually pretty solid, which is super nice. One of my favorite parts is what you're seeing now, which was making the handpiece. I decided to take some creative liberties on the handpiece after I found this little floral thing. And I removed all the leaves and decided to wrap this really pretty crystal around it and then add all of the pom-poms. So it kind of had its own twist because I really wanted to sparkle, and it's a little bit more unique than the other ones. And I also liked the floral piece I found because it looks more like a tree. So in the end, it kind of reminded me of a pretty dead snow-fallen tree. And then I attached the pom-poms, which took a little bit of work. This floral thing has a wire in it, but it does eventually allow for the pom-poms to stick. But you can see me struggling in this clip and attempting to use the floral wire. There was a lot of trial and error. There's actually a 30-minute clip of me just wrapping around the wire with the crystals because I wanted it to just look perfect. And here's the final product. I decided to take some stills. You can see the pom-poms on the fishing wire, the big fluffy skirt, and of course, the handpiece. I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. There's over 40 hours of work put in this project, a lot of trial and error, a lot of sewing. It was just a very tedious process, but I think the end product was worth it because I was very proud of how it turned out. And I learned a lot of new skills, so if I ever use this pattern again in the future, which I have some plans to, I'm going to get the process done a lot quicker. So here's some stills, and then this is the final thing all put together. Thank you so much for watching.